You wake to a world that sometimes feels heavy before your eyes even open, and you wonder if today will ask more than you can give. Yet beyond the curtain, a fragile blush of dawn announces that even in weariness, this hour is appointed. The faint birdsong, the hush between yesterday's noise and today's demands, presses as a gentle invitation. The Almighty, steady refuge and unchanging companion, leans close with strength nothing can exhaust. In this breathing space, you lay aside anxious lists, surrender each plan still unformed, and listen for His quiet direction. Lamentations 3:7-23. These words unveil mercy that arrives new with the light, assuring you that true renewal begins not with effort, but with grace offered freely. What burden presses hardest on your chest, and what desire longs to find purpose beneath His gaze? Dare to place both upon the altar of gratitude, trusting that nothing offered is ignored. Now, as your heart grows still, we step into the path where struggle meets sacred dawn. You feel the first minute of morning like a fragile shell, thin, easily cracked by memories of unfinished tasks, unanswered messages, and the quiet fear that you are already behind. The clock's quiet tick reminds you that time will move whether or not courage keeps pace, and the pulse in your temples begs for slower rhythms. You notice how darkness lingers in the room's corners, reluctant to surrender to the growing light, an almost perfect mirror of the hesitation in your spirit. Nothing dramatic happened, yet weariness settles as if it owns a seat at your table. In admitting this fatigue, you do not confess weakness. You simply name reality, opening the door for divine presence to enter the very place that aches. A cool breeze nudges the curtain, carrying scent of rain, washed earth, and you remember that soil cannot bloom until it absorbs storms. So too, your soul needs honest moisture, tears, sighs, whispered laments, that soften hard places where hope once struggled to root. You resist comparing your pain to anyone else's. Comparison is a thief that steals compassion from yourself. Instead, you let honesty hover like a low cloud, shading fragile sprouts of faith so they are not scorched by forced positivity. Within this tender shade, you recognize the holy paradox. Truthfulness before God is not defeat, but doorway. So Psalm 55:2, this verse calls you to lay burdens upon the Lord, promising sustaining care. The invitation is not for the strong alone. It is designed precisely for the trembling traveler who wonders how to keep going. Hear the gentle echo. Xast, one syllable, yet heavier than any suitcase you might drag through life's stations. Casting is not tossing with casual wrist flick. It is releasing possession altogether, admitting that hands built for worship were never meant to clutch dread. Picture yourself stretching palms upward, fingers uncurling one fear at a time, the project deadline, the medical test, the unspoken tension in a relationship. Each worry rolls from your grasp like stones, slipping into a deep river, whose current you do not control. The water receives every stone without splash, proof that mercy is wide enough for countless weights. Now notice how breath changes when arms are no longer wrapped around invisible loads. Shoulders descend from ear level, jaw unclenches, and lungs expand enough to taste crisp air you missed while braced for impact. Relief feels almost foreign, and you may question whether you are allowed to keep it. Grace answers before the doubt finishes forming yes, you are allowed, because rest is not reward for perfect performance. It is prerequisite for purposeful living. As the first ray of sunlight brushes the wall, promise flickers. Acknowledgement does not prolong darkness. It shortens it by ushering truth into conversation with God. In this dialogue, silence becomes seedbed for next steps. Stay here a moment longer, breathing the quiet certainty that the one who holds galaxies also holds your schedule. Even if minutes slip like sand, you need not grip them in panic. You may cradle them lightly, trusting that direction will emerge. The day ahead still contains unknown turns, but they are no longer threats. They are stages upon which grace will perform wonders you cannot yet envision. Let that expectation sharpen your senses for the whisper that will guide your feet when we move to the next dawn. Lit promise. A muted rose hue creeps across the horizon, and for a brief interval you stand between two worlds, the closing hush of night and the first sigh of morning. This liminal space is more than prettiness. It is sanctuary, a chapel without walls where light itself kneels before the Creator. You feel the temperature shift, a coolness giving way to gentle warmth, and realize that every new day is an act of divine generosity. No orchestra announces the miracle, yet blades of grass glitter with dew like tiny stained glass windows catching the first rays. Each droplet refracts color into ordinary soil, and the ground beneath your feet becomes holy because presence walks here with you. Breathe deeply. Damp earth mingles with the faint sweetness of jasmine, and the air seems flavored with promise. You hear a solitary robin declare territory, not in aggression, but in pure confidence that daylight belongs to song. Its melody reminds you that praise can be as natural as breathing, as instinctive as a heartbeat, when you remember who crafts the rhythm of dawn. In this moment, you are invited to trade restless anticipation for reverent attentiveness. Rather than rushing toward tasks, you linger, head tilted, collecting small epiphanies the way shadows retreat. The understated perfection of a spider web glistening between two quiet branches. The hush that covers streets before engines disturb the peace. Psalm 46:5. This verse proclaims God's unfailing help at break of dawn, assuring you that reliability is woven into the very timetable of morning light. Picture the city or countryside still half asleep. Windows reflect pastel skies, while street lamps blink off, acknowledging a greater luminary now ascendant. You understand that creation itself rehearses serenity. Stars fade to let sunbeams govern. Night creatures withdraw to give diurnal life room. Likewise, your mind steps back from anxious control, allowing grace to assume rightful leadership. Where yesterday's stress tried to script your thoughts, today's illumination rewrites the narrative with gentler ink. You notice how even rooftops seem to bow, edges glowing as if crowned by a quiet coronation. Standing in that glow, ask your heart, what would it look like to greet each obligation as a continuation of worship rather than interruption? Sacredness does not evaporate when you enter kitchens, offices, classrooms. It travels within your awareness. When you answer email, you may also answer a higher call to kindness. When you navigate traffic, you can serve as silent intercessor for strangers behind steering wheels. Dawn is not a time of day, it is a posture. Open-handed expectancy that goodness is already in motion. Let your eyes wander to the eastern sky, now painted with peach and gold. Clouds catch fire without burning, and you realize that proximity to God's brilliance does not consume, it transforms, coloring everything it touches. Allow that radiance to spill inward, tinting attitudes that might otherwise remain grey. If resentment lingers from yesterday's conversation, hold it up to the sunrise until the light reveals alternative angles. Maybe hidden pain in another person, maybe your own unspoken insecurity. Illumination births compassion where judgment once settled. Listen again to the robin, its tune has shifted, incorporating trills as daylight strengthens. Likewise, your praise can deepen, moving from quiet gratitude to exuberant declaration. You need not be extravagant in volume, sincerity is volume enough. Whisper a simple acknowledgement. You are here, and that is enough. Such confession calibrates your inner compass towards steady joy. Before stepping away from this sanctuary, let dawn's lessons seal within memory. Surrender is rhythm, attentiveness is worship, and every horizon is evidence that endings can become beginnings under divine authorship. Carry these truths like lanterns through corridors of the day, casting warm glow on every encounter. Your footsteps now cross from admiration of dawn into the inner chamber where choices are forged, that hidden arena no other eye can judge. The quiet here is deeper, stripped of birdsong and color, because surrender is a silent transaction. You relinquish the illusion that self-management equals safety. A breath held too long becomes strain, so exhale the instinct to orchestrate every outcome. Feel ribs expand as control departs, making room for peace yet unknown. You sense the pulse in your wrist slow slightly, proving that trust is physiological as well as spiritual. A whole person release. The table of your mind still holds scattered plans, small tokens of ambition, fragile hopes wrapped in protective caution. One by one, slide them to the center like gifts offered on ancient altars. Name them softly: the promotion you chase, the diagnosis you fear, the apology you wrestle to give. Each naming strips anxiety of secrecy. Worries exposed to sacred light cannot retain the same grip. You are not discarding these matters. You are relocating ownership to hands that molded mountains. So Philippians 4:6-7. This passage invites you to resist anxious patterns through prayer and petition, promising a guarding peace that surpasses analysis. Divine tranquility becomes sentinel over thought and emotion, a living barrier against turmoil. Picture that promise as a river encircling a city, its current swift enough to deter invaders, yet serene upon the surface. You dwell within those fortified banks, free to dream, create labor, because safety is delegated upward. As you recognize this defense, tension slides from shoulder blades, and even the furrows on your brow ease like soil after rain. Surrender is not passive resignation, it is active alignment. You stand, stretch arms overhead, and feel gravity tug every muscle downward, a reminder that yielding to God resembles leaning into natural law. Resistance drains energy. Cooperation converts that same force into momentum. Imagine a sail catching wind on an open sea. Fabric yields, yet vessel advances. So when divine breath fills the canvas of your intentions, progress becomes both effortless and unstoppable, guided by currents you cannot chart, yet can certainly trust. Still, doubts whisper, asking if relinquishment makes you vulnerable to disappointment. But vulnerability has two faces. One invites harm, the other invites healing. The second face glows before you now, radiant and unguarded, because holy love never wounds, it reshapes. To illustrate, recall a potter spinning clay. The wheel's speed would hurl unscented clay across the room. Only when surrender to the potter's steady palm occurs does form emerge. You are that clay, softened by tears, revolving through seasons, and every gentle pressure shapes purpose unknown, while circle follows circle beneath infinite patience. Let awareness travel to your heartbeat, steady drummer directing the liturgy of cells. With each pulse, murmur acknowledgement, not mine, but yours. Repeat until words dissolve into pure intention, until even silence speaks surrender. Notice how perception shifts. Tasks ahead no longer appear as ladders to climb, but as fields to steward, each furrow awaiting seeds of kindness. You are neither hero nor victim of this narrative. You are participant in a choreography already composed, invited to dance steps illuminated just in time. As the section of your morning concludes, place a final gesture upon the altar. Gratitude for what is unseen. Thankfulness before evidence is the anthem of faith, a melodic line that bridges present uncertainty with future testimony. Hold that note as we move forward, knowing yielded hearts sound clearest in heaven's ear. Morning advances, and after surrender you stand beneath a widening sky as if beneath an invisible waterfall. Fresh light streams over rooftops, rinsing residue of dread, and you receive it the way parched earth receives first rain. Your lungs draw deeper, slower breaths. Each inhale delivers bright oxygen, each exhale releases yesterday's stale atmosphere. You recognize how renewal is not an emotion, but an exchange. Old weight for new vitality, engineered by hands that never tire. A nearby maple lifts shimmering leaves, sunlight flashing across their surfaces like tiny mirrors, reflecting promise toward you. You mirror that gesture by lifting your inner gaze, trusting that divine radiance does more than illuminate. It penetrates, repairing fibers frayed by long vigil. Muscles once knotted soften, thoughts long tangled begin to straighten, even your posture alters. Vertebrae stacking with gentle confidence. The landscape within feels freshly landscaped, weeds uprooted, soil turned, fragrance of possibility carried on a quiet breeze. Isaiah 4:31, the prophet paints a picture of those who renew strength and mount up like eagles. The verse assures you that true vitality rises, not from adrenaline, but from waiting upon unwavering love. Waiting becomes launching. Close your eyes and imagine feathers catching thermals, body rising without frantic wing beats. That image becomes blueprint for your soul. You drift upward on invisible columns of mercy, not through feverish striving, but through yielded stillness. Tasks remain below, yet altitude grants perspective. Deadlines shrink, conflicts lose sharp edges, long journeys reveal pathways winding toward ultimate wholeness. You are not detached, you are clarified. Clarity breeds courage, and courage quickens steps when you descend to ground again. Sense now a subtle inner resurrection. Creativity stirs where fatigue once lodged. Compassion awakens where irritation had camped. Like a field after winter, your spirit shows tiny green shoots of joy, evidence that seasons shift under sovereign timing. You may nurture those shoots by choosing nourishing words, lingering over beauty, extending unexpected kindness. Renewal is sustained when you cooperate with its rhythm, much like watering seedlings faithfully rather than flooding them once and forgetting. Perhaps regret whispers that repeated failure disqualifies you from fresh beginnings. Silence that whisper with the knowledge that rivers cleanse every time you enter them. The same grace that refreshed you at first light will do so at midday, at dusk, at any hour humility bows. Your role is consent. The miracle is enacted by grace itself. Remember, the maple leaves will unfurl again tomorrow without coaxing, because life pulses through hidden veins. Life pulses through you in equal measure. Hold this surge of strength like lantern glow inside your chest. Let it disseminate through words you speak, choices you make, and the quiet patience you extend to fragile hearts around you. Then step forward knowing that renewal is both gift and assignment. You receive it, and you carry it into hallways where others still yearn for dawn. The street outside hums to life, yet you pause at the threshold, aware that motion without meaning drains faster than silence restores. Renewal has filled you. Now every stride can translate mercy into matter. Shoes meet pavement, and with the first tap you choose intention over impulse. News headlines, buzzing phones, and impatient horns attempt to draft the script of your attitude, but you answer a higher call, tread as one commissioned. You do not hurry to prove worth. You advance to reveal light hidden inside ordinary duty, one deliberate footfall at a time. Your calendar may appear crowded, yet each appointment is a creature waiting cultivation. Meetings become fields where patience can germinate, spreadsheets, canvases where excellence paints integrity, brief hallway exchanges, alleyways where kindness can bloom unseen. You are not defined by task quantity, but by the quiet quality you infuse into each moment. Like a gardener pacing rows, you inspect intentions, prune vanity, water diligence, stake drooping hopes to promises sturdier than mood. Purpose does not demand spectacle, only steady fidelity to the next good thing. Proverbs 3:5-6. These lines counsel you to trust the Lord wholeheartedly, relinquishing self-crafted maps. In return, divine wisdom straightens the labyrinth of decisions, aligning trajectory with benevolent design. Imagine a compass resting in your palm, needle unwavering despite jostling streets. That inner instrument is conscience awakened by surrender, orienting choices toward true north even when traffic obscures the horizon. You may still adjust course, pausing to listen, shifting tone during a tense conversation, declining a shortcut that compromises integrity. But adjustments are mid-journey acts of worship, not detours of defeat. Each correction refines direction, the way a sailor trims sail to catch reliable wind. Purposeful walking also carries others. Perhaps a colleague's shoulders sag under unseen weight. A gentle question can redistribute that burden. Perhaps a neighbor's porch needs sweeping. 10 minutes with a broom becomes liturgy. You discover that when steps serve, distance feels lighter, and time, once tyrant, becomes ally, stretching to accommodate compassion. Service is not an accessory to calling. It is the highway along which calling travels. Inevitably, missteps arrive, an irritating remark escapes your mouth, or an urgent task slips by. Rather than spiral into regret, halt, inhale, acknowledge, amend, continue. Grace grants fresh footing, the way a trail turns after an obstacle to reveal broader views. Even stones that bruise inform future vigilance, teaching where to place trust and how to lift feet higher over similar hazards. Learning on the go is not failure. It is refinement, shaping resilience that outlasts morning's glow. As afternoon edges nearer, reflect on footprints left behind. Did hallway air warm with encouragement? Did silence in a meeting open space for wisdom? Purposeful steps multiply influence beyond sight, like ripples migrating from a skipped stone. Hold that image while momentum builds. The day still stretches ahead, and each forthcoming stride can amplify hope seeded at dawn. You stand beneath a sky now brilliant with mid-morning blue, sensing that every earlier moment, struggle, dawn, surrender, renewal, purpose, has braided itself into a single cord of gratitude. The air carries the scent of freshly cut grass, and distant laughter filters through open windows. Even these simple sounds feel like hymns accompanying your thanksgiving. You pause, hand resting lightly on a doorframe or steering wheel, and let gratitude travel through memory, like sunlight along a river, touching each bank where grace appeared, the ease of breath after fear loosened, the unexpected smile that answered a silent prayer, the steady rhythm of steps guided by unseen wisdom. Gratitude, you discover, is not mood but vision. It reads ordinary details as paragraphs of mercy, turning routine into revelation. You thank God for the body that moves despite aches, for the mind that thinks despite doubts, for the heart that still risks kindness after bruises. You thank Him for questions still unanswered, believing they are invitations to deeper trust. Each acknowledgement widens your interior horizon until abundance exceeds circumstance. You realize that joy is not the trophy of perfect days, but the echo of recognized gifts. So 1 Thessalonians 500 Eve, the apostle calls you to give thanks in all circumstances, revealing gratitude as continuous posture, not occasional event. Such praise anchors the soul where storms cannot uproot it. Picture a meadow just mown, old stalks lie in neat rows, preparing the ground for fresh growth. Gratitude functions likewise, clearing cluttered thoughts so new creativity can root. You practice by voicing blessings aloud, whispered, perhaps while walking the corridor or silently while waiting at a red light. Every thank you becomes a seed, promising harvest in places you cannot yet see. In this benediction, you bless more than your own path. You extend appreciation outward. You thank God for strangers whose unseen labor keeps lights glowing, roads smooth, groceries stocked. You bless the surgeon's skill, the teacher's patience, the farmer's dawn toil. This outward gaze converts gratitude into intercession, releasing rivers of quiet hope toward lives you may never meet. Gratitude thus becomes missionary, carrying grace beyond the borders of personal story. Should later hours bruise optimism, you will return to this practice. Inhale, list gifts, exhale praise. Each cycle will realign your heart's compass toward true north. Gratitude is the gentle hand that steadies a spinning world. When thanked, God's goodness reveals itself again and again, like waves unashamed to kiss the same shore. Now lift your eyes once more to the expanse above. Clouds drift like peaceful caravans, reminding you that time itself is on pilgrimage toward redemption. You join that procession, steps light, shoulders free, soul humming an unseen anthem. Every morning may not be easy, yet everyone is holy because presence fills it. Let that certainty guard you as daylight stretches, and may your final word before action be the first word of worship. Thanks. You have greeted dawn with honesty, lingered in sacred stillness, surrendered hidden fears, received restorative strength, and chosen consecrated action. Now gather all these threads into one bright cord of gratitude. Hold the quiet truth that you walk today accompanied, empowered, and loved. Let this assurance settle deep, calming thoughts and guiding choices. As you step into traffic, conversation, or solitary labor, carry a soft whisper within. This day is holy, and I am kept. Breathe it once more. Then release the silence to speak on your behalf.